And welcome to the final warrant committee session of calendar year 2021, which I think is a year none of us will be terribly sad to see finish. But I'm pleased that we have our quorum this evening, and I would ask Lynn to take the roll.
Sure. We have warrant committee members John, Steve, Emily, George, Kathy, JJ, Lorraine, Erin, Kristen, Dave, and Christine.
Very good. So I'm happy to call the meeting to order. First order of business is to review and accept our minutes of our 11/15/2001 meeting, which brings us, I believe, totally up to date in our minutes. If there are, I believe everyone has received them electronically. And if there are no changes or amendments, if there are, let's have them now. And if there aren't any, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion.
No changes. Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Lynn, please take the roll.
John, Steve,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Erin,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and coming back to John. John, you're muted. I'll add him as an abstain.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We are approved. Our next order of business is to look at least the articles which we have received to date regarding the home rule petition for exchanging conservation land at Guile Road and Blue Hills Parkway for other town-owned land for the change in the use of the town-owned land at Guile Road and Blue Hills Parkway, which would be associated with the changes that the school building committee wants to effect for the construction of a new school, should that be determined by the town meeting. Additionally, the accessory dwelling unit motion article that has been brought before us again. Remember, we reviewed this in some detail, and it was sent back to the planning board for the last town meeting. The article that is being submitted by the select board for memory care zoning by Milton, BID Milton, a liquor license, which is being requested by the developers that are putting a restaurant in at 1 Elliott Street, which many of you will remember as the old Hendry's ice cream factory. Some of us of a certain vintage remember going there for ice cream as kids. So to think you can go there and get a couple of shots is kind of fun. But I'll be interested. Excuse me. I'll be interested to see how that one plays out. And the sewer betterment on Randolph Ave, which we have looked at in the past. Many of these articles, as I say, have been forwarded to us. The presentations, which I had hoped would be able to begin tonight, cannot begin until the 3rd because there were conflicts by some of the presenters from the planning board, from the select board, and from the DPW. And unfortunately, the council for Milton Hospital and the Milton Hospital folks for the memory care unit were unable to come. So the meetings that we have scheduled for the first week in January, January 3rd and January 5th, I did not want to schedule on the 2nd of January because coming back after the Christmas and New Year's break to have a meeting of that magnitude just seemed to me to be inhuman. So I gave us a break and we'll do it the Tuesday night. So if you get Tuesday blues, you'll have them in spades after that meeting. So please make every effort for those 2 meetings because I believe that will be the meat of what we will need to consider on these articles. And if it's at all possible, I would like for us to be able to vote on those after we have the presentation, certainly the more straightforward ones. Maybe one more meeting after that because we really have to get roll up our sleeves and get into the budget for the next fiscal year for the annual town meeting in May, which is going to take considerable effort on our part. So having said that, I think we can proceed to our 4th agenda item, which is we have our very distinguished town finance director, Karen Preval. Karen, we're thrilled you can come to give us a budget
George,
for fiscal year 23. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I just
Go ahead.
wanted to clarify something that you said, and forgive the violin practice in the background. The one Elliott Street isn't Henry's. It's the health club.
Yep.
Just
Oh,
so
I'm
everybody kind of knows
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, I apologize. That's exactly right. I'm thinking that's the central lab. That's another one that's going to come for us. But anyway, okay. So thank you for clarifying that. I had a moment of ecstasy remembering the Henry's ice cream place. So okay, thank you for clearing that up. So we're happy to have Karen give us the overview of the budget. Karen, you're here, are you not? We didn't lose you already, did we?
I am, George. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, and we're delighted you could make it tonight. Thank you so much. Well, the floor is yours. I will, for the moment, suspend our 7-minute rule on presentation because this is the town budget and the overview is critically important for all of us to understand where we're going. And I think if you have updates as to the funds that are coming in from the feds and when to expect them and the magnitude of that, I think a lot of us will be very interested to hear that. So you have the floor, take it away.
Okay, I don't know if you like me, I can share my screen or I can just talk about the FY23 budget and currently what we're doing, whatever.
We all love pictures. So if you want to share the screen, that's a big help.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. One moment, I just have
Thank
to.
you. Can you can do that from where you are, or does Lynn have to do that?
I should be able to do it from where I am. If she gives
Okay,
me
perfect.
access to share my screen, I should be able to share it. So I'm just gonna pull it up so you can see.
You should be all set, Karen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. Can you see it or are you
We
seeing
don't have
yet?
it.
Okay, one
don't have
moment. It's coming.
Go ahead.
Okay. Can you see it now? Are you seeing it?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Is everybody?
So,
Can everybody make it out on the screen? Do you have adequate visibility?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay, Karen, take it away.
So I just wanted to go over the FY23 budget calendar. This is a calendar that is put together usually once a year that talks about all the deadlines and the timelines that I would need to have information in. So I just wanted to walk through this. Since this is my first year working with the town of Milton, I wanted to kind of just walk through the steps that I started in the process. So starting in November, we had a brief meeting with the town administrator, just briefing them on the FY23 process and just getting, just letting people know when the fiscal year ended and what they could expect. On the 24th of November, we asked all the departments to review their salary and wage worksheets. So everything we're doing right now is looking at, so those were sent off and we also have the kickoff meeting, the capital kickoff meeting. All of the departments have sent us their salary and wage sheets back. We updated those within the accounting office and then sent them to departments to review. That way we had all the correct rates and we had all the different contracts. So if there were changes in positions or staff, they were able to notify us of those different changes and we could make those adjustments within their budgets. On December 7th through the 10th, we had meetings with all the departments. So we met with all the department heads and the town administrator and myself. Oh, what happened? Let's see. Sorry, something just happened to my screen.
Oh dear. That looks like a hobbit hole.
Click the other tab, Karen. See it there?
Second tab you need to hit.
It just disappeared. Let's see here. Okay, it's up again. Sorry about that.
Good.
So as I was saying, on the 7th, between the 7th and 10th of December, we met with all the departments. And one thing I'd like to do is just talk about where they are with FY22 budget. And, with it being close to the half of the fiscal year being completed, we like to see if there's any unforeseen items or expenses that may come up that they may not anticipated, or I look at the percent spent as of a particular date, and hopefully, looking at it being close to, probably 47% when I submitted those budgets to each department. So that occurred the week of the 10th.
Excuse me, Karen.
Yes.
I know I'm getting older, but your screen is at 60%. Can we make that at least 100% so that I can try and make out some of these words?
Yeah, that's a little bit of an eye chart.
No problem at all.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to
That's
interrupt you.
better. No,
Oh,
thank
that's
you.
fine. And I can just,
I thought it was me.
okay. Yeah, and if you have questions as I'm going through this, please feel free to ask. So on December 13th, we had a kickoff meeting, and that was with all the department heads. We distributed the budget guidelines and budget documents, and we sent those electronically. So what I've asked all the department heads to provide us with a level funded budget. If there's anything that is contractual or the contractual increases, each department will be submitting a supplemental request form. That form will list the actual account code, the description of the expense, what they received for funding in FY22, and what they're requesting in FY23. If there's a variance, then the description explaining why they're looking for that increased amount of money will be provided. So all of the budgets were sent to the department heads. We have requested that they be returned. The deadline for all of the FY23 budgets to the accounting office is December 10th. And that will include the FY23 proposed budgets, any supplemental request forms. I'll actually have preliminary revenue projections, except for the governor's budget. Usually the governor will provide us with the cherry sheet numbers, usually towards the end of January. So as I have those, I'll be, presenting them to the town administrator, who will then be to share them with different boards and committees. On December 16th, we had a capital committee meeting where we gave an updated status of the open projects. We also had a meeting the week of, actually I missed, on December 10th, looking at a debt service with the treasurer's office. And we were starting the process of reviewing the FY23 proposed projects. So we're in the process of still going through that. We have another meeting, I believe it's on the 29th. So we'll be going over the rest of the capital projects and looking at, coming to a decision at some point on what projects that we're going to propose within that committee to be funded for this fiscal year. The week of January 18th. So hopefully, if I'm able to get the budgets back from the departments, and everyone has been really helpful and responsive in getting things back to our office in a timely manner. So with everyone sending it which allows us to, meet our deadlines, I'll have a chance to review the budgets when they're submitted on the 10th, and we're going to bring the department heads in the week of January 18th to the 21st to review their requests, their proposals. Hopefully we'll have the DOR projected revenue for cherry sheet, and if we have any of our certified free cash certified at the time, we'll know more on what our revenue projections will be moving forward. So that week is the week. So pretty much as you look at the end of January, I hope to have, the FY23 budget, what people are proposing, what the supplemental requests are, and with revenue driving how you can spend money, hopefully by the end of January, we'll have a good rough estimate on, what we can look at in terms of our revenue. A couple of things that happen in the accounting office is at the end of the year, we have to close out the books. And what that entails is submitting a balance sheet to the Department of Revenue. And they'll review, our expenses, they'll review our revenue, they'll review all of our funds, all of the enterprise funds. And after that review is done, they'll then certify free cash, which just gives us the amount of additional money we had in the budget that we can use to fund the next year's budget. So those have been submitted to the Department of Revenue. We're waiting for them to certify that information and get back to us. We also submitted our tax recap sheet, and I know that our taxes were recently certified, so those bills will be going out shortly through the treasurer's office. I left February as open. I want to allow departments enough time to present what their needs are and enough time for different committees to review if there's question, whether it's the warrant committee or the select board. I wanted to allow everyone the opportunity to have input in terms of how we put the document together, if there's different charts or graphs that we would like to use. So I have February and March as tentative, to be determined dates in terms of when we want to set meetings. This is a draft, so I'm open to suggestions, to comments, so that as we move forward into hopefully having, I had some tentative dates in April. If we're looking at having a May town meeting, working back, that they would need to be mailed to residents around the second week in April and would need to be at the print shop the first week in April. One thing that we are doing differently this year than last year is that we have software and it's called ClearGov. ClearGov is our public facing software that shows all of our financial reports and our finances. So if you go on to the town of Milton and you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a tab that says ClearGov. And if you click on it, it will show you our budgets over the last fiscal years. It will show you our financial statements, and there's different financial documentation that you can gather there. This year, we are moving forward with using a digital budget book. And what that is it's a module within ClearGov that allows you to update pretty much the warrant. So it allows the warrant to have an automated process instead of doing it manually. If there are committees that need to update a particular article, they'll have access. It's web-based to go and update it. Lynn, I worked very closely with Lynn in terms of looking at the software and looking at ways that we can make it more efficient. It allows people to view actuals at any period of time during the budget process, to review the different articles that are being developed. So that's the budget process in terms of what we're doing this fiscal year. With this being my first year, I think that, if there's different deadlines that we need to adhere to, I think going into the next fiscal year, we can probably move up the process. The closeout at the end of the fiscal year will probably be done probably I would say around August, September, probably September. With this being my first year, it just went a little longer. I just wanted to make sure that what we were submitting to the Department of Revenue was accurate. But this is just an overview of the budget process, and I open it up to any questions that anybody may have, and then I can go into where we are with the American Rescue Plan money.
Any questions for Karen, ladies and gentlemen?
I have a question, George.
Please, Kathy, go ahead.
Karen, I was just curious. So as part of the warrant committee, would we have access to ClearGov to be looking at the numbers that we break down into subcommittees? So is that something we would use as well?
Yes, that is something. And so at the first of the year, and I'll be working with Lynn so that all the committee members will have training. So everyone will have access to go into the site. Will have, if one committee has access to 4 or 5 articles, they'll have access to go to the articles. Lynn spent a lot of time over the summer and inputted everything. She exported everything from the warrant book into ClearGov. So everybody would have access to go and make updates, review, make changes at any given point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
Additional questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Erin.
So this ClearGov, which we're going to be trained in January, will we still be able to see the school budget as we have been able to see it in past years that have been delivered to us?
Yes, you will.
So it'll
So
be broken
nothing-
down the same way.
That's correct. So nothing is changing. So on the town, nothing's changing in terms of the information that you're going to have. The only thing that's changing in terms of how the warrant is put together is that each committee, instead of sending Lynn a Word document that she has to manipulate and then incorporate into the document, each committee, each member can have different permissions when they can go and they can review, they can update and have access to the entire warrant at any given point of time. It also is going to allow the warrant to be uploaded onto our website. So it will eliminate, people happen to come into town hall. It will be available at town hall, but it'll also be available online.
That's great, Karen. I have a couple more questions. You said that certain people will have access to certain departments within the warrant. Just as a point of reference, in the past, we've had access to it didn't matter if I was on the DPW subcommittee or the cemetery, it didn't matter. I could see everything. So is that still going to be available for us?
That will be available. So I'll sit down with Lynn. I don't make any of the permissions. So this is your document that you put together, and whatever permissions you need or access, you'll have access to that. So if you want to look at what DPW is updating, and I hope that, as we move forward in setting up different guidelines and calendars, that we can move that to the boards and commissions. I have on here, let's see. I have January 3rd, where the warrant articles can be updated online, but we will set up training for that so that everyone has access. They can, feel comfortable. We went through this process over the summer, just doing a demonstration, printing it. The warrant will be printed on 11 by, is it 11 by? Yeah. Is it 11 by?
8.5,
14
maybe.
or 17 or something like that.
Thank you. That was a senior moment for me.
That's all right.
So I
And,
only have I have two more quick questions for you, Karen.
Yes.
The articles, so let me ask you about this. So you, for the first time, are saying cherry sheets, which is something that I know about, but the warrant committee has never heard before. So the governor's budget that comes out in January, that's his budget. That's not his cherry sheets, correct?
No, those will be the numbers. So we will get
Right.
the cherry sheet numbers, which is chapter 70. So chapter 70
Right.
is the money that towns and cities receive to cover for their school. And then they, also cover some other budgets, and they tell us what our charges are as well.
Right. It's the local stuff. I totally get that. I
Yes.
just want to make sure that everybody understood. And
Local state
lastly, yep. Lastly, I want to say that I really appreciate this calendar. I'm sure you have seen some of my emails, but there are specific town bylaws that the warrant committee is supposed to see the budget at certain times. This actually looks like a logical laid out plan of when things can happen, because I totally understand that we rely on the state budget and we can't even make an estimate until the governor's budget comes out. I get that. And so I just want to say that I appreciate seeing this on the screen. I'm curious, will we be able to see any of the draft budgets prior to the March of 22, where we'll see the final ones?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
So
really
at
have-
the end of
I just didn't see our name in there. That's why I asked
no.
George.
Yes, usually by the end of January, once I have the revenue numbers, I'll have the budgets back by the departments on the 10th. And then over the end of January, I'll be working at putting those budgets together. So you'll see your FY21 actuals. You'll see the FY22 budget, and you'll see the FY23 proposal. So everyone will have enough time to kind of go through and decipher. And when I started here last February, there's things that got cut and added, but all of that, people will still have time to have that process. And that's why
Karen,
I have
thank
February,
you.
March open. So as people have comments or inputs, I can update those calendars as we go through. So at least next year, it will be complete based off of 1 year, going through. This is kind of like, I wouldn't say the test run, but the beginning
I just want to say
stages.
thank you. This looks great.
Oh, you're
Thank you so
welcome.
very much. I really appreciate your presentation this evening.
Yeah, the nice part of this, I think, also having this in front of us is that we can then schedule the different departments, the school, the public safety, DPW, et cetera, to come before us in real time. So we won't be waiting for drafts. We'll have the real budgets, and I think this is very helpful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Because this is reasonably straightforward. We will be getting, I believe, we have the choice, obviously, of having the information electronically presented. If some of us wanted hard copy, will we be able to print that out, or will you be supplying it, or what's the expectation, Karen?
When the warrant is completed, we will still go to the print shop. They will be mailed. And I think that, as you know, if we end up doing surveys to find out, do people want to see it online? Do people still want, a paper print? That will still be available. People will still have the ability to go into town meeting and pick up a budget document. I hope over time, as we start to look at eliminating paper and saving money on trees, that people may want the option to be able to have it available, online, and maybe they may not want a printed copy. But this year, everyone will still receive a copy of the warrant as they have in the past.
Okay, that's helpful to know, because I know that there are some folks that will rely on that, and the transition obviously is something that has to happen, and will be easier for some than for others. But to make it possible, I think, and to begin the process is essential, I think.
And if people want to email, and a lot of people like to have things visually, but when I put this calendar together, the most important thing for me is allow people time to have information to review. A lot of times, it comes up at the end of before the town meeting. I didn't have a chance to, read the entire book. I didn't have a chance to get it. Here, we are able to allow people options to look at the draft online. They'll have the warrant in hand as well, but it gives people enough time to have a chance to review it. So when we go to town meeting, if there's questions that people have, we have enough time to be able to provide them with answers. And it's not a rushed, it's not a rush job.
Well, that's important to us because I don't want the warrant committee, when there are budget issues to be discussed, and particularly some of the, I don't want to say contentious, but some of the more important issues that we have relating to the schools and school building and the fire station building really do require some deliberation and some vetting and questioning. And I want to be sure that we will have that ability to report back to the town meeting that we have really thoroughly discussed and explored all of the positions that be considered as we make the recommendation.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I have February and March as 2 months, which
Right.
will allow us to have these meetings. You'll be able to have the information as I get updates, and I can
Yep.
update the calendar, and I have final numbers or draft final numbers. I'll be sure to communicate that with your committee so that you're
Great.
in the loop of what's happening on the town
That's-
side.
Excellent. That's very good. The February and March are typically the busiest times for the warrant committee. And so I think we all appreciate whatever you do to make that burden a little bit lighter. Any other questions for Karen before we move forward? Hearing none, Karen, thank you very much. Happy holidays, and thank you for all the work you do for the town. And we'll look
Thank
forward
you.
to working even more closely over the next few months.
Thank you, George. Appreciate the opportunity to come to your committee to discuss this with you. I didn't know if you wanted to hear ARPA. You mentioned you wanted an update on the ARPA funding.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Okay. So we've received with the American Rescue Plan Act funding, we received 2 pots of money. One's from the U.S. Treasury Department. We received $2,888,119. And we also received money from Norfolk County. It's around $5.3 million. All of these projects are approved by the select board. So out of the Treasury Fund, we have a few projects that have been approved that we're moving forward with. One was for $1 million, and that was for the water main improvement project. We also had 471,000 that was approved for the school department. 94 came from the Treasury's department, and 376,000 was used through the Norfolk County. So with the Norfolk County, the difference between the money we receive from the Department of Treasury and Norfolk County is that Norfolk County provides funds to the town in a form of a grant, whereas the money we receive from the U.S. Treasury Department, which was 2.8, came directly as revenue, as cash that we're allowed to spend. There are a lot of reporting guidelines that go with these funds. The reporting guidelines will begin in April, that we'll have to submit all the backup information in terms of what we're spending that has been deemed eligible. We also allocated a total of $89,000, 60,000, and this was all for contact tracing. We're looking at ways to utilize all sources of revenue when it comes to COVID-related expenditures. ARPA funds cover contact tracing, whereas FEMA doesn't cover that. So we're looking at utilizing each revenue source as much as possible. We also, out of the Norfolk County, Harlan Street culvert and drainage assessment was funded and approved. That was for $80,800, and we have broadband for $700 that and some fire equipment. So for the Norfolk County money, there's a process. We have to submit an application to the county for the projects that have been approved by the select board to be approved by the county. Once it's approved, they send the money, but we're tracking everything in our accounting office for all the projects. If you want to have an updated sheet, I can send you a summary of everything. We also have a dashboard online. So if you go to the town's website, you'll see ARPA, and you'll see the amount of money that we're receiving from the Treasury's office and for Norfolk County and the different projects that have been authorized.
Much of the money that comes from ARPA, we had already discussed, as if I'm recalling correctly. Is that so? So these are many of these projects we've already considered, and this is the actual funding for stuff that we've already consented and reviewed,
correct.
Recommended town meeting, et cetera.
Yes.
So what is the process going to the county? How long is their turnaround when you submit the backup information and the request,
Their
et cetera?
turnaround. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, George. Their turnaround has been pretty quickly. I mean, it's been probably within a week or two. Usually within a week. Usually within a week, we're getting response back on whether something's eligible or not. So I think so it's moving pretty quickly. I think that Milton was the second town to actually receive money from the county. We received a check for the $1 million, I'd say 3 weeks ago. And there was one other town, I believe it was Wellesley, that had submitted a project that was approved and received money. So I think, Milton has been really on top of getting the projects in, and the town administrator working with the select board and town departments and the school department, I think, have been very proactive in moving forward with this.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm kind of shocked that the county is moving that quickly to fund these projects. I'm not upset at all. I think it's kind of amazing, but let's hear it for government at work.
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Again, Karen, thank you very much. We appreciate your work and all. It seems like it's a labor of Hercules what you're getting done. So much stuff to get through in the next few months, but we're here to work with you, and we appreciate everything you're doing. So again, hope you get a little break for the holidays, and thanks again, and we'll talk in January.
Okay, thank you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the subcommittee assignments. I hope everybody has had a chance to look at that. If you have any questions, any changes, any input that you want to make, please don't hesitate. we still have a little time before we have to carve these things in stone. So please take a look and think about how you want to participate. Everybody's obviously encouraged to participate as much as you can. The biggest and most time-consuming aspects of the budget, of course, are the schools, public safety, DPW, but that doesn't mean that the library and the cemetery and Parks and Rec are not equally important, because they do affect a very large number of people in town as well. So please take a look at that. I don't think we need to discuss it right now, but I think that we're I think in a pretty good place to be prepared for certainly the budget. And I'm hoping that when we get the article presentations on the 3rd and the 5th of January, we can move forward and have some decent discussions about that as well, with input from the planning board and the select board, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Because I did not
Please.
look at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
totally honest. I didn't look at it. Did you assign us committees already? Or, all right, thanks,
No.
Kathy.
No.
Okay.
I know. Listen, I've been at this a few years. I know better
Right?
than
I was like,
doing
wait,
that.
did he actually do that? That would be unique and a first, and maybe not a bad idea.
Well, I haven't done that, and I wouldn't do that. I learned, having 4 daughters, I learned you can't assign jobs because they never get done. And I wouldn't even presume anyway, not with a group like this, my God. So I think all of you, please take a look and understand what we need to do, because it is important. Doing it in committees and the subcommittees is terrifically important, because it saves so much time in the committee when you have the ability to break down, meet directly, and then bring the pertinent issues to us, rather than have everybody parade through and have these marathon meetings, which I know once upon a time the Warrant Committee did to the it was not anything that anybody wants to repeat. And when I became chair, I decided this was the right thing to do, and far more efficient. And it's actually worked for the last few years. So next Warrant Committee chair can do whatever he or she wants, but I think this is the right way for us to proceed right now, particularly because we have a budget process which is disciplined, it's efficient, and it's really going through a rapid, I don't want to say modernization, but liberalization, so that we can see things in real time, which I think is terrifically important and very valuable for us in our process. So if nobody has any other questions, I think we can actually adjourn. Our next meeting will be the 3rd of January, followed by the 5th. I again ask you to make the time available, because if we can get these issues discussed, if you can review the items and have questions ready for the presenters when they come, it'll just move quicker, and we can get the business done. So if there is no other business, I don't believe we have any new business. If we do, speak up. If not, I thank you all very much. I wish you happy holidays, happy New Year. You are an extraordinary group of people. The generosity you exhibit in the dedication to doing this for the town is, I believe, underappreciated, but I appreciate it. And anybody I talk to is clearly aware of how much work you do, and how really constructive the participation of this group is for the good of the town. And ultimately, the town does appreciate it. So on behalf of them, I thank you very much again. I wish you happy holidays, happy New Year, and we'll be together in January. I think we're still going to be remote. If I'm reading the tea leaves properly, we may even have the annual town meeting remote, unless we get some rapid changes in the transmission of virus and treatment of it. But I urge you all to take good care of yourself, however you need to, whether you get vaccinated or you get boosters or you choose not to, and you wear masks and you quarantine. But please take good care of yourselves, because I have heard, I've had 2 friends pass away very suddenly. One a town meeting member in the last month, Dr. Welts, and his wife Ella passed away tragically. Both of them ended up in the BID Milton intensive care unit on ventilators before they passed away from COVID complications. And that brought home to me that this is a very real problem. And for those of us who can avoid the illness or survive it, good for us. But there are many who are less fortunate. So please do take care of yourselves. What you do for the town is important. Anyway, having said that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
Sure.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Lynn, please take the roll.
John,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Erin,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
That's all.
That's it.
Mhm.
Thank you all very much. Good night. Happy holidays and stay warm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.